discuss the overview, benefits, prerequisites and time, although I'll be mentioning time a little more soon. I've divided the court into boxes. That's why the routine is called the checkerboard challenge. The dividing line between the first two rows is 4 racket lengths from the front wall. Here I'm taping my usual targets to make the boxes clear. As I said, you could even use paper cut into strips and stuck down. For the rest of the court, I just used insulation tape. I have numbered the boxes, but that's only to make it easier to understand the first movement pattern. Assuming you're right-handed, numbers 1 to 8 are for forehand and numbers 9 to 16 are for backhand. Let's look at the progressions and difficulty section. I've separated the routine into on the bounce and on the volley. You could do a mix of both if you wanted to. There are 4 types of progressions and 3 ways to use them. This section shows where the ball is allowed to hit the front wall. Any height is the easiest, with above the cut line next, and lastly below the cut line being the hardest. The colour-coded difficulty is just for a guide. A lot depends on the number of shots or time used, and some people might find one option easier than others. The 4 types of progressions are as follows. 1. Perform the drill for a set time or number of shots, aiming to make the ball bounce in each target area. The important point about this one is that it doesn't matter if the ball bounces in the target checkbox or not, you're simply aiming for it. This is where the time limit works best. 1 minute in each box is obviously 16 minutes, but you could change that to anything from 15 seconds to 3 minutes. 2. Perform the drill for a set number of successful shots in each target area. A successful shot is one that bounces in the target area. For this one, you only count the shots that bounce in the target area. For example, you say 10 shots and keep going until you hit 10 shots in the respective box. 3. Perform the drill for a set time or number of shots in each target area without any mistakes. If you make a mistake, go back to 0 for that target area. Now things are getting a little harder. You have to get 10 consecutive, or whichever number you choose, shots to bounce in the box. You could do a set time, say 30 seconds, but timing this can be hard, so I recommend just using the number of shots. 4. Perform the drill for a set time or number of shots in all target areas without making any mistakes. If you make a mistake, go back to the complete beginning. Okay. Things just got really serious. Even if you're on the last box and make a mistake, you have to go back to the complete beginning. Doing 5 shots in each box with no mistake is really hard. It's the same for the volleys, but instead of the ball bouncing in the target box, you must make contact with the ball in there. It's a bit harder to judge though. Remember that ultra uber nightmare mode? Well, here it is. Hitting volleys to the back of the court below the cut line is very hard. Coupled with not making even one mistake and doing it in 16 different checkerboard boxes make this almost impossible, especially for club players. If you want to prove me wrong, just make sure you have a video to support your claim. On to the natural progression and variation section. As you probably guessed, simply increasing the set time or the number of shots makes this harder. I highly recommend using small increments. For example, do not go from 5 shots to 25 shots. The jump is too big. The variations are quite simple too. Instead of following the checkerboard box numbers, you could go by rows or even a spiral, as shown here. Also, the start point can be any of the 4 corners, so that adds another variation. If you're new to my solo practice routines, I highly recommend reading and following my solo practice principles. Remember, the poster is very high resolution and can be printed up to at least A1 size, so please consider printing one and keeping it in your squash bag. The link is in the text description and on bettersquash.com. Just before we move on to the actual drill, I'd like to show you where I recorded the intro. It's called a fronton and is used for a few different sports, with Basque handball being the most common. Here you can see people playing front tennis, which uses a ball very similar to a racquetball racket. Almost every town in the Basque Country has at least one fronton, and as you can see here, there's even a little version, which is perfect for practicing squash volleys. Okay, let's get on to that squash court. The first thing I would like to do is start with a brief demonstration of the swing. For this routine, I'm trying to keep my swing a little shorter than normal. I do this because I want to maximise control. I like to hit with quite a lot of slice on shots like this, but you can hit flatter if you want to. Notice I try to watch the ball hit my strings. It's not always easy, but it is always worth it. Keep the follow through shorter than normal, almost as if the racket head is following the ball straight forward. Now, clearly I'm not going to show you a full routine with every progression. That would take hours, but I will show you 3. All 3 are using the full height of the front wall. In this first one, I'm hitting the ball 5 times, aiming for each box, but if I miss, I still count it as one of the 5 shots. Next, I'm trying to hit 3 consecutive shots in each box. If I make a mistake, I go back to 0 for that box. And lastly, here I am trying to hit 3 consecutive shots in every box. If I make a mistake, I go back to the complete beginning. Boy, is this frustrating, but great for my concentration and basic ball control. Remember in the intro I mentioned the Dunlop ProSelect? Well, here it is. I was almost shocked at how good it felt, considering it's 30 years old. Yes, it's heavier than current rackets, but I bet with a restring using WAAAY or Technifibre strings it would feel even better. It has plenty of touch and control, but I will admit that it lacks a little power compared with today's rackets. Look out for the full review later in the summer. Well, there you have solo practice routine number 6. I hope you enjoyed it. In fact, I really hope you try it, and please let me know how you go in the comments. And also, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions or any other feedback, post them in the comments and I will respond.